The aluminum skin was trying to tell them something. For months, maybe years, microscopic cracks had been spreading through the metal. Invisible fissures growing with every flight, every vibration, every cycle of stress and release. But metal doesn't speak in words. It whispers in frequencies too quiet for human ears, until the moment it screams. November 4th, 2025, Louisville, Kentucky. A routine cargo flight that would never reach altitude. 14 people who would never see another dawn, and an industry that would be forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. The sky has a memory, and metal never forgets. This is the story of UPS Flight 2976. Louisville International Airport sits at the heart of America's logistics empire. Every night, as most of the country sleeps, this facility transforms into a symphony of precision. Hundreds of aircraft moving packages across continents, maintaining the invisible infrastructure of modern commerce. UPS Flight 2976 was scheduled as a standard overnight cargo run. 3 crew members reported for duty that evening, professionals with thousands of hours between them, veterans who'd flown this route countless times. The MD-11 freighter they'd be piloting had been in service for years, a workhorse of the cargo industry, modified from its passenger origins to haul freight instead of people. The pre-flight checks were routine. The cargo was loaded. The engines, 3 massive turbofans, capable of producing over 60,000 pounds of thrust each, spooled up normally. Weather conditions were favorable. Every indicator pointed to another unremarkable night in the air, but hidden within the left engine's mounting structure, invisible to the naked eye and undetected by standard inspections. Metal fatigue had reached a critical threshold. The molecular bonds holding the pylon together had been compromised by thousands of stress cycles, takeoffs and landings, turbulence and temperature changes. The relentless physics of flight wearing down the material atom by atom. The aircraft was cleared for takeoff. The MD-11 accelerated down the runway, its engines building power, the airframe beginning to lift. V1, the speed past which an abort becomes more dangerous than continuing. Rotation speed, the nose wheel lifted off the tarmac, then the catastrophic failure. The left engine pylon, the structural assembly connecting the engine to the wing, surrendered to the accumulated fatigue. In a fraction of a second, metal that had held firm for years simply gave way. The engine, weighing several thousand pounds, tore free from the wing. But an engine doesn't just fall. At takeoff speeds, it becomes a projectile. The detachment triggered a cascade of destruction. Hydraulic lines severed, fuel systems compromised, the aerodynamic balance of the aircraft shattered. The pilots fought for control, but physics had already written the ending. The aircraft, unable to sustain flight with catastrophic structural damage, descended rapidly. What happened next would haunt the Louisville community and send shockwaves through the aviation industry. The freighter crashed into a residential area adjacent to the airport. Homes that had stood peacefully beneath countless flight paths for decades suddenly found themselves in the center of an unthinkable tragedy. Fire erupted. Debris scattered across multiple properties. 3 crew members, 11 people on the ground, 14 lives extinguished in seconds. When commercial aircraft crash, they leave behind not just wreckage, but data. Thousands of clues embedded in twisted metal, recorded parameters, and the physical evidence of failure. The National Transportation Safety Board mobilized immediately, assembling a team of metallurgists, engineers, and investigators. The crash site told a story written in destruction. The left engine was found separated from the main wreckage. The first major clue, examination of the pylon mounting structure, revealed the characteristic patterns of metal fatigue. The telltale beach marks. where cracks had propagated slowly over time, followed by the rough, sudden fracture of final failure. But fatigue failures don't occur in isolation. They result from a perfect storm of factors: design stresses, maintenance intervals, inspection procedures, and the accumulated wear of operational life. The investigators began reconstructing the engine's history. Every maintenance check, every inspection report, every recorded anomaly. What they discovered raised troubling questions. The maintenance records showed that standard inspections had been performed according to manufacturer guidelines. But those guidelines, investigators realized, might not have been adequate for detecting the specific type of fatigue that had developed in this particular mounting structure. The inspection intervals were based on statistical models and historical data, assumptions about how long metal should last under normal conditions. But no two aircraft experience exactly the same stresses. Variations in cargo loading, flight routes, weather exposure, and countless other factors create unique wear patterns. And the inspection technology available to maintenance crews had limitations. Some forms of internal cracking simply couldn't be detected without specialized equipment or more invasive procedures. The NTSB's preliminary findings were stark. A critical structural component had failed due to metal fatigue that existing inspection protocols had not been designed to catch. The Federal Aviation Administration faced an immediate crisis. If one MD-11 freighter had suffered this type of failure, how many others might be carrying similar hidden damage? The aircraft type, along with its predecessor, the DC-10, formed the backbone of cargo operations for major carriers. Thousands of flights were scheduled every day. The FAA issued an emergency airworthiness directive, a rare and drastic measure that immediately grounded the entire fleet of MD-11 and DC-10 freighters until enhanced inspections could be completed. It was an unprecedented disruption to the cargo industry. For companies like UPS and FedEx, the operational impact was staggering. Packages sat undelivered. Alternative aircraft were scrambled to cover critical routes. The financial losses mounted by the hour, but the alternative, continuing operations with potentially compromised aircraft, was unthinkable. Inspection teams worked around the clock, using advanced ultrasonic and eddy current testing to probe the engine pylons of every grounded aircraft. They were looking for cracks that might be invisible to the eye, fissures hidden deep within the metal structure. The results were sobering. Several aircraft showed early signs of similar fatigue patterns. None had progressed as far as Flight 2976's fatal failure, but the potential was there. The industry had been closer to multiple catastrophes than anyone had realized. Lawsuits began almost immediately. Families of the victims filed claims against UPS, the aircraft manufacturer, and the engine maker. The legal arguments would hinge on complex technical questions. Were the inspection procedures adequate? Should the fatigue risk have been anticipated? Did anyone fail in their duty to ensure airworthiness? Beyond the courtrooms, a broader conversation emerged about the aging cargo fleet. Many of these aircraft had been converted from passenger service, their airframes accumulating decades of stress. The economic pressures of the cargo industry incentivized keeping aircraft in service as long as possible. Had safety margins been compressed too thin? In the wake of tragedy, aviation systems evolve. The lessons written in wreckage become the regulations that prevent future disasters. But the process is neither quick nor simple. The FAA convened working groups with aircraft manufacturers, airlines, and maintenance organizations to develop enhanced inspection protocols. New requirements were introduced: more frequent inspections, advanced non-destructive testing methods, and more conservative limits on structural component life. For older cargo aircraft, these changes had profound implications. Some aircraft would require expensive structural reinforcements. Others would face accelerated retirement as the cost of compliance exceeded their economic value. The global cargo fleet would need to be modernized faster than the industry had planned. Training programs for maintenance personnel were overhauled. Recognizing that even the best procedures are only as effective as the people implementing them, the industry invested in better education about fatigue recognition, inspection techniques, and documentation standards. But perhaps the most significant change was philosophical. The incident forced a confrontation with the assumptions underlying aviation safety. The industry had relied on statistical models and historical data to predict component lifespans. Flight 2976 demonstrated that outliers exist, that metal can fail in ways not captured by average patterns. The new approach emphasized what engineers call damage tolerance, designing systems that can continue operating safely even when components have begun to degrade, and creating inspection regimes sensitive enough to detect problems before they become catastrophic. The aluminum skin was trying to tell them something. In the aftermath, investigators realized the signs had been there, not obvious, not screaming, but present in subtle ways that existing systems weren't designed to perceive. Aviation's remarkable safety record is built on exactly this process: learning from failure, adapting systems, and implementing changes that prevent repetition. But each lesson has a cost measured in lives that cannot be restored and futures that will never unfold. The families of the 14 people who died that November night in Louisville live with an absence that no regulation can fill. The community still bears the scars, physical structures rebuilt, but memories that remain raw. Yet from that tragedy came change. Enhanced inspection protocols, modernized fleets, a renewed commitment to questioning assumptions and looking harder at the invisible. Metal still fatigues. Cracks still propagate. The physics of failure haven't changed, but the systems we use to detect those whispers before they become screams, those have evolved. Flight 2976 serves as a reminder that safety is never permanent, never complete. It's a constant practice of vigilance, improvement, and the willingness to learn from the worst moments in order to prevent them from happening again. The sky has a memory, and now so does the system designed to keep it safe.